Hello children. So now in this video I have come here with the cash crops. We are going to discuss about the various cash crops which are grown in India. Okay, and before we start with this topic, I want to remind you once again to share the link of this video with your friends and classmates, and don't forget to subscribe the channel, because unless you subscribe the channel and don't press the bell icon, you won't get the notifications regarding any of the videos which are uploaded in the channel. Right, so share the link, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon also. Okay, now let's start with the topic cash crops. Okay, commercial or cash crops. Now, what is the meaning of cash crops? First of all, cash crop is a crop which is meant for just earning the money out of it. Okay, or to get the profit out of it, or the other way, let me explain that to you. Cash crops or commercial crops, what we call, these are the crops which are grown just for selling out in the market and to earn the money from it, to earn cash from it, and it is not meant for the consumption of the farmer or his family. It is just meant to sell out in the market. Clear? Now you can take the examples like sugarcane, then cotton, tea. All these are the cash crops. Right? Now let's start with the first one, that is sugarcane. Now sugarcane is a crop which we can categorize as a tropical crop. Right? That means it needs throughout its growing season, it needs high temperature, and moreover, along with this, one more thing is there. It needs a sufficient amount of irrigation also, and it is a crop which is called as annual crop, or you can say it covers almost, it takes in its growing period, it takes almost 1 year or 1.5 years. Right, almost you can say it takes almost 10 months to almost 18-19 months to grow. So this is a crop which is important in India. If we say, it is an important crop for the production of sugar, but sugar is one thing. We use a lot good khandsari. These are being used especially in India on large scale. Okay, we also call it jaggery. So that is used commonly on large scale, and along with that, it is a source of sugar. Now, what all things, what all conditions are required for sugarcane cultivation? Let's discuss all that first. And regarding that, you should have a clear knowledge about what are the conditions required and how India is an important country in the production of sugarcane, because India is a tropical country. Major part of it is lying in tropical zone, right? And more or less whatever conditions are required for the cultivation of sugarcane, all that is ideally fulfilled in India, a major part of India, whether it is the northern plains of India, or you can take the northern part of the peninsular region also, right? Especially the northwestern part of peninsula, that is Maharashtra, a part of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Andhra, and these are actually the areas which are known for sugarcane cultivation. Right? Now let's talk about all the conditions, the climatic conditions required for sugarcane cultivation. Number one, temperature. For the cultivation of sugarcane, the temperature should remain around between, you can say, 20 to 30 degrees centigrade. Within this range, when the temperature remains throughout, it is most ideal for sugarcane cultivation. Moreover, it is grown in those areas where the rainfall is ideally, suppose you can say 100 to 170 centimeters, right? That means it does not need water for long time. That means either if the drought conditions are there, that is also harmful for it. On the other side, if too much of water is there, right, or too much of rainfall is there for long time, that is also harmful for it. Clear? So these are the two conditions. Number 3 is that frost. Frost is something which is very harmful for the sugarcane crop. So we have to protect this crop from the frost also. And that is why it is actually grown in these areas in the plains at the time when we are not having any frost conditions. Besides this, what type of soil is required for this? Especially well drained, rich alluvial loamy soil, right? Along with that, the lava soil, or you can say the black soil, is very good for this crop. Moreover, as this crop is considered as a very soil exhausting crop, okay, soil exhausting plant, so at times it requires fertilizers also, right? A lot of fertilizers at after certain period of time, it needs manures and nitrogenous fertilizers to be used for it. So all these inputs, when these are provided for sugarcane cultivation, we are going to get a good harvest out of it, good yield out of it. Now it is a member of grass family, you can say, and it is generally grown in the tropical regions, and it's a tall, hard, thick stem, right, which grows almost to a height of 3.5 to 3.75 meters on an average, and it matures, I just told you now that it matures almost, it takes 1 year to 1.5 years to mature fully, right? After that we start harvesting of it. So that is the growing period of sugarcane. Next thing is the sucrose quantity, right? Sucrose content which is there in the sugarcane, that is the main thing what we need for production of sugar, for production of gur or khandsari, right? So if sucrose quantity is there in the sugarcane, it is always there are chances to get decreased, right? The sucrose quantity may decrease when there is heavy rain continuously, right, for long time. So on one side, I told you just now in the earlier part that whenever heavy rain is there, that is also harmful on one side. On the other side, if the drought conditions are there, right, or the rainfall is deficient, or the irrigation is comparatively it's not sufficiently available, so what happens then? It results into a fibrous crop to develop. That means there will be again, you can say, a decrease in the amount of sucrose. So both ways it is important for the growth of sugarcane crop that the water should be available in sufficient amount. It should not be very high, right? You can say the heavy rainfall is not good. Moreover, it's not good to be having a drought condition. And this is the reason, children, if you try to check, I have told you many times earlier also, whenever we discuss about these basic conditions required for the growth of any crop, what is the reason why sugarcane is not grown, especially if you take West Bengal, Assam, that is the area where you will find very less or almost no sugarcane cultivation is done. The big reason for that is their heavy rainfall occurs, right? Comparatively, the amount of rainfall is heavy. Moreover, the water remains over the surface of the soil for long time, which is again harmful for this crop. Okay, this is a big reason why sugarcane cultivation is mainly focused in the central and the western part of northern plains, and central and you can say the northern half of the peninsular region also. One more thing I want to tell you about this crop is that this is a crop which needs a large number of labor. Okay, that's why it is called as labor intensive crop, because different several works which are required during the growth of this crop, all these work are being done by large number of people. Okay, so manual labor is required in large number. So that is again one important feature of it. Now, what are the uses of it? The main uses for which the sugarcane cultivation is done, that is actually sugar, to get the sugar out of it, to get gur, khandsari, right? These are the main products out of the sugarcane what we get. Which are the leading states now? The main states which produce sugarcane on large scale, these include Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, then Punjab, Haryana, and to some extent Bihar also. These are the main states which produce sugarcane on large scale. Now, the next thing we need to discuss here is regarding the various methods of sugarcane cultivation. Now, what are the various methods for sowing the seeds, right? For doing sugarcane cultivation, how the sugarcane is planted, that is very important part of it, right? Now, it is planted in different ways. Basically, three methods are there. Number one is set method, S-E-T-T, set method. Now, in this case, if you see, in this method, the cuttings, okay, suppose any sugarcane plant is already there. Now, from that, if we want to have the next crop, what we do is, in the same plant, we get the cuttings of it, and they are planted. The cuttings are planted in such a way that nodes are kept safe, and it is planted in such a way that that node is giving out again the buds out of it. Okay, the buds get sprouted from there, and that is then planted in the field. So they form new stalks out of it. Once again, I am repeating, set method is that in which already existing sugarcane plant is there, right? From that, the cuttings are taken out, right? And these cuttings are kept in such a way that they should cover one node, and over that node the buds come out, the buds get sprouted out of it. So within a few days you'll find the buds come out, and that develops into a new stalk. That is called, this method is called set method, right? S-E-T-T, set method. Number two is, next is retuning. Second method is retuning. Now, what is retuning? In it, during first harvest, okay, sugarcane is cut in such a way that a little stalk is left in the ground itself, right? The sugarcane, suppose the upper part is cut and it is taken away, right? Some part of it is left there in the soil itself with its roots, and then it soon puts out new shoots, or you can say it develops into a new stalk, and that is called retune. The left out part which remains there in the soil and which then develops into a new crop, a new sugarcane, a new stalk, that is called as retune. And generally it is the second or any successive crop which is obtained from the roots of leftover crop is called retune. Now, this retune is this method, the retune method, is to some extent, you can say, it is a little beneficial than the set method. What is the reason behind it? A big reason is that it saves labor cost. Because in sugarcane, I told you in the earlier half when I was discussing about the labor intensive crop. Okay, this is a labor intensive crop. It needs a large number of labors at different steps. different stages of its growth. So it saves to some extent the labor cost, and in this way we are able to reduce the total cost of production of this crop. Number one. Number two is that already the root is there in the soil, right? So it matures early. That crop, that sugarcane plant which is already there in the soil, right? So it takes less time to get mature. Okay, this is the second point of it. And the third very important, again, the advantage of it is it does not involve any extra input because already it is established in the soil, right? So it is cost effective also. That means it needs comparatively less fertilizers. So any of the inputs what we use for it, these are less required. Okay, so again this is an advantage for in this method of sugarcane cultivation. Clear? But now come to one big disadvantage of it. One big disadvantage of this method is that the sugarcane which grows after the initial one, right, the next successive crop which comes out of it, that is always thinner, and always it has got less amount of sucrose quantity, right? So quality wise, if you see, that becomes a little lower, inferior than the main crop which was there. Okay, and moreover because it is inferior, so it has got more chances, more risk of pests and diseases also. So this is a big disadvantage of this method of sugarcane cultivation. Then the third method of sugarcane cultivation, or you can say the planting of sugarcane, is actually by the seeds direct, right? Now in this method actually sugarcane can be planted by dropping the seeds. Now this is actually not practiced a lot these days. This is a method which is old, and now it is considered as obsolete method, right? It's not practiced a lot. So this is another method, and in very few places you will find this method is still in use. Otherwise this method is not practiced anywhere, and if it is practiced, it is as I have said just now, that it is an old method. So naturally the use of fertilizers, the use of the various irrigation facilities, all these become very less in it, and so it is possible in a small, comparatively smaller area. So the production also gets affected in this method of planting the sugarcane. Sugarcane crop is basically, sugarcane is harvested before the sugarcane starts flowering. Okay, and especially when harvesting is done, it is kept in mind always that it should start before the winters start in northern India, right? And it is just to keep the crop safe from the frost conditions during winters. So once the harvesting has been done, and after that all the stalks are collected, and that is taken to the sugar mills, right? So first of all, when the harvesting has to be done, for that one more thing is always kept in mind, that the stalks must be cut as near as possible to the ground. What is the reason for that? The reason is maximum sucrose quantity, sucrose content remains there in the lower part of the stalk. Okay, so it is always cut keeping in mind that the maximum sucrose content is coming to us, right? That is one thing. And second thing, why just before the starting of winters? It is basically for keeping it safe from the frost conditions. Next is the harvesting and crushing operations, especially if you see all over India, almost it starts from October, November, that is the beginning of winters, I said just now, right? Harvesting and crushing operations. Crushing means when it is taken to the sugar mill and it is crushed, right? and the juice is taken out. That is the main thing what we need from it, which is used to form the sugar, gur, khand, sari and all that, right? And it continues till April or May. So this is a long process, and especially after harvesting, one more very important thing you should remember, that as the harvesting has been done, immediately after that it is taken to the sugar mill. The reason being, within 24 hours, if it is not processed, right, if it is not being crushed, then the sucrose level which is there in the sugarcane starts going down. Okay, it starts decreasing, and this is the only thing what we need the most from the sugarcane. So that affects the total production of sugar then, right? So keeping that in mind, again, it is always carried immediately to the sugar mill. This is done with the total process of sowing, harvesting and processing. Clear? Now one more thing is there, children, you should always understand this, that sugarcane being such an important crop in the especially total agriculture sector what we have in India, in that it plays a very important role. And in the entire world, the total area under sugarcane is largest in India. That means in the entire world, if you see, the area covered by sugarcane crop is maximum in India. And production wise, if you see, India stands on the second position after Brazil. Okay, production of sugarcane is maximum from Brazil, and number 2 is India. One thing is there, when we think of the total sugarcane cultivation, we have seen in last few decades, the sugarcane region has started shifting from the northern belt, right, which is well known for sugarcane cultivation. Now it has started shifting a little towards south. Basically, near, you can say, Maharashtra and Karnataka, Andhra, these are the states which are producing a lot of sugarcane. And what are the problems being faced by the sugarcane cultivators especially? We can see all the problems. A few of these problems have been mentioned here. First thing is that sugarcane is considered as one of the most soil exhaustive crop, which once it is grown in the soil, after that always it is required to be, again, suppose the fertilizers have to be used in that, so that any new crop will be again sown in the soil. Without that, the soil becomes very, you can say, its fertility goes down, right? So always more and more fertilizers are required. Even during the growing season of the sugarcane also, we need to put a lot of fertilizer every now and then. So for that, if we use more and more fertilizers, we use more and more irrigation. Irrigation is also required at times. Moreover, large number of labors are required, because maximum work is done by hands. Manually it is done. Okay. So keeping all that in mind, if you think of it, the total cost of production goes high. Okay, the total cost which is actually taken up by the farmer for growing sugarcane cultivation, the cost of production goes very high. Besides this, one more very important point is there. The farmers, when they grow sugarcane, they think of that if the total production, the yield is very good, that means they are going to get proper return out of it. But at times, what happens, when suppose after harvesting they have got a good yield, but they are somehow not able to reach to the mill within 24 hours. And just now we have discussed in the earlier part that when the sugarcane is not crushed within 24 hours, there is always one important thing that happens, that is actually the sucrose quantity within that sugarcane starts going down, it starts decreasing. So naturally the production of sugar gets affected by that. Okay, and if that is there, then farmers again, they get proper return is not received by the farmers. Moreover, keeping actually this, suppose the land area, whatever land area is there with the farmers, they use it for sugarcane cultivation, suppose. Now sugarcane is a crop which is also called as annual crop, right? You have seen in the earlier part we have discussed the growing season of sugarcane. Almost it takes 1 year or 1.5 years. That is normal. Okay, so when it takes such a long time, that means the entire field is covered with this crop. So during that period, the farmers cannot use that land for any other production, any other crops to grow, and that definitely that affects the income of the farmers. So that is again one important point which we should think regarding this. Then next is irrigation which is provided. Suppose we are not having proper irrigation facilities if we want to cultivate cane, right, in an area, and we are not having sufficient means of irrigation, then also the sugarcane will get affected by that. Lot of water and less water both affects sugarcane. And keeping all these things in mind, children, if you see and you compare this with the conditions what we get in the southern region, that is the southern the peninsular regions, you will find, suppose we have discussed about number one is the fertilizers or any inputs which are used, okay, for the growing of sugarcane. In southern region, if you see, the farmers are comparatively, as compared to the farmers of the northern plains, the farmers of the peninsular region, especially the Maharashtra and the states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, then Tamil Nadu, right, Andhra Pradesh, these are the states which are having farmers with, you can say, financial background is strong, right, they are quite well off, and they have not to think over it that how much money is spent over fertilizer and how they will have to manage for the irrigation or any of the manual labor and all. Okay, so these farmers can easily cover up the total whatever is required. Suppose input, any input we need to provide for the crop, fertilizer, may be it fertilizer, maybe it the irrigation facilities, right, or we need any manual labor, or we need at any part of its growing season we need any pesticides, insecticides, whatever we need. For that, if we have to spend some money, we don't have to think for any such problem, because we are talking about the southern region. Okay, the farmers of southern region are quite well off, number one. Number two is that if you talk about the climate conditions, right, the climatic condition in the southern region, especially because of the maritime influence, okay, there is no extreme winter and neither it is extreme summers, right. That means the danger that the frost, and on the other side during the summers the low conditions, right, both these things are very harmful for the sugarcane crop. And keeping this is always, if we think about this in the northern region, when we talk about the southern region, in southern region neither the frost conditions are experienced nor the low like conditions are experienced. That means very cold winters and very hot summers are totally absent. So due to the maritime influence, it again gets a little benefit from that side. That means the climate becomes more, you can say, favorable for the sugarcane cultivation. That is another point why the sugarcane cultivation, the belt, sugarcane cultivation belt is shifting from the northern side towards the south. Moreover, one more thing is there, in southern region you will find the mills, the sugar mills are situated very close to the farming areas, or you can say the cultivation areas. So the farmers need not have to think over it that how the sugarcane will be carried to the mills, and because the infrastructural facilities are quite developed, roads are quite well developed, so they can easily carry the sugarcane to the mills within that particular time, that is 24 hours. Moreover, because of the climatic you can say favorable climate what we have in south, the crushing period also is longer as compared to northern belt. So all these things actually help a lot the farmers in the southern region, and that is why the sugarcane cultivation has started as an important cultivation in the southern parts. But one more thing is there. The sugarcane cultivation is facing, you can say, a tough competition from the other cash crops also in the southern region. Like, you can talk about the cotton, you can say the coffee or the spices and all, right? These are the main crops which are grown in the southern region. So sugarcane cultivation is facing that challenge also, that competition from these cash crops also. So this is all about the sugarcane cultivation in India. Now this is all with this video, children, and in the next video we are going to continue with the rest of the cash crops what we have in India. So once again, before I leave, please share the link of this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. Bye.